Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new r/malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called You Demand a Meeting? I once was a computer programmer and had a project manager named Shirley and a coworker named Alex. Every morning we, along with half a dozen other people, had a 5-minute long meeting to discuss our progress and give people a chance to ask each other stuff. The boss was away on a 2-week vacation, and while he was away, the meetings were slightly more important, so we could coordinate ourselves without him to do it. Right before the meeting, I had come to a roadblock because I couldn't remember what something in the programming was called. I just needed an actual word and I could continue, and I knew Alex would know it. At the meeting, Alex did his thing. A few other people talked, then it was my turn. I explained what I had done yesterday and what I was working on and said, "Hey Alex, do you remember?" At this point, Shirley interrupted and threw a screaming fit at me. How dare I try to have a discussion with someone without her? I pointed out that she was standing right there, and she demanded to know how dare I try to talk to someone without it being a scheduled meeting in the conference room in her presence. I pointed out that this was a scheduled meeting. We were in the conference room and we were in her presence. How dare I presume to ask anyone anything without notifying her in advance that I would be doing so? I tried to explain that it was only a very brief question, and she flipped out that how dare I try to talk back to her about this. So, having gotten an idea, I asked when we could have this meeting. She said 3 p.m. I knew damn well she had nothing to do before then. She just wanted to have something she could feel smug about. It was 9:34 a.m. at the time. She ordered that I was not to discuss it with anyone before the meeting, and I was not to proceed on the task without it. Or I would just be proving it wasn't actually important and I was wasting anyone's time. The meeting ended and we left. Alex worked about 10 feet away from me, so I could have just walked over and asked him, but I didn't. He sent me an instant message to know if I wanted to ask him whatever while she couldn't hear, and I replied that no, she wanted to be rude about it so she could reap the rewards of her actions. Alex and I had lunch every day, but I declined to talk about it. He knew I was up to something. At 3 p.m. he and I went into the conference room. 10 minutes later, she swarmed in, closed the door, sat down, opened her notebook, uncapped her pen, wrote down the date and time and who was there, and told me I was now authorized to proceed. "Hey Alex, do you remember last week when we did this task? You used a thingy that did this. What was it called?" He told me. "Great, thanks." And he and I both turned to leave. It had taken all of about 20 seconds. Shirley flew into a rage. I was deliberately making a mockery of her by scheduling a meeting for something that would take 20 seconds. As I left the room I said, "Shirley, I warned you that this was a 1-minute exchange, but you insisted on a meeting." She didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. I made sure my timesheet reflected that I spent 9:35 to 3 p.m. doing nothing and waiting for Shirley. A day or two later she flew into a rage at me again, and the entire staff was so enraged they told me they were quitting and asked me to join them. I asked them to wait a couple of days, called my boss and told him. And on the next business day I found he had returned early from his vacation and fired her. The next story is called You Want to Know the Reason? This happened a long time ago. I was young and had just come back from traveling in Europe. I wound up renting an apartment that I was not happy with, but it was in my hometown and was affordable. I was hoping to move out and was able to do so once a better opportunity came along. The apartment was generally depressing, so I was looking forward to moving out. I talked to the landlord and building manager about moving out and to see if I could move out mid-month to save on some rent. They said that was not possible and I would have to wait until the end of the month to move out. Fine, not a big problem. The building manager says I need to fill out some forms before I can move out, so I go to his office and do so. He was not a very friendly guy, but honestly I had not had any interaction with him prior to this and had no hard feelings about him. One of the questions on the form was, "Why are you moving out?" I left it blank. What business is it of anyone's why I am moving out? The building manager handed me back the form and said, "You have to fill this in." I told him that I didn't feel like giving a reason that I'm moving out and didn't understand why it was mandatory. He insisted that I had to fill it in or he would not process my move-out paperwork to end the month-to-month lease. I said, "Okay, fine," and filled in, "I do not like the building manager." He was shocked when he read it. I told him I didn't want to put anything down, but rules are rules. What do you think about today's stories? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel to grow. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. The third story is called "Sure, let me find it for you." Last week, I and my friend went out to eat for the first time in 3 months. There was a short line before being seated, just one other couple before us. The man insisted that he had a reservation, but the waitress couldn't find his name on her tablet and immediately he got loud and angry. The waitress suggested that maybe the man had called the wrong number because there's another restaurant 50 kilometers from here with the same name, and sometimes people mix up the two of them when doing a Google search. She was very polite and calm about it, but the man got even angrier and accused her of trying to shift the blame, said she couldn't do her job, blah blah. The waitress tried to say that they still had some open tables, and if he could wait a moment she would go and check. But the man kept speaking loudly over her and saying that she must find his reservation. So eventually the waitress called the owner, and the owner took the man and his companion to one side so they wouldn't block the line while she tried to figure out what was going on. Now, me and my friend didn't have a reservation either, because I'm a total scatterbrain and I forgot to call ahead. I told the waitress as much and asked if there was any chance they'd be able to fit us in. She told me not to worry. There were still tables available and we were seated within a minute. Our table was not near the entrance, so we didn't see what happened next, but the same waitress brought us our coffees at the end of dinner, so we asked her if everything was okay. I and my friend had been talking about it and we were appalled at the man's behavior. The waitress told us not to worry, that the owner had let him stew for a bit and then she had called the other restaurant with the same name. The manager of that other restaurant had confirmed they had a reservation under his name. The man was very annoyed at being proven wrong and asked to be seated since they had been waiting a long time. The owner said that unfortunately all tables were full. "But earlier you had empty tables, I saw it." "Yes, but you told the staff you didn't want to be seated, you wanted us to find your reservation." "We have found your reservation, it's for a restaurant in another city. In the meantime, other people have come in and all the tables are full. We have no seats left." The man didn't take it well, but the bartender, a huge giant of a man, was standing nearby, so he scampered off in rage, swearing he was never coming back. I think everyone in that restaurant will be happy if he keeps that promise. The next story is called Tomorrow. At a previous job, we stored important items for different businesses. When they needed any of these, they sent through a request and provided it was before 4 p.m, we delivered it the next day. There was an unspoken understanding that if it was a large order, they would put it through early to give us plenty of time to deliver it. Until one day, one of our bigger, entitled clients decided they needed 100 boxes delivered the next day. A friendly phone call to them was unsuccessful. Basically, they told us it wasn't before 4, they needed tomorrow. I spoke to my boss and we came to an agreement. The next day, I sent my drivers to do the rest of the run while I picked the order. I then loaded it into a spare van and continued with the rest of my work. 3 p.m. comes and I let my boss know I'm taking the van home. He smiles, says see you tomorrow, and I'm off. 3:30 I arrive at the clients with them in panic, thinking I'm not coming, and they close at 4. When they ask why I'm there so late, I merely responded, "We got them here the next day, didn't we?" After they had to stay late to help unload everything, to their credit, they apologized and never pulled that stunt again. The last story is called Unbendable Rules? Fine. I worked for a company that was bought out by a large multinational corporation. After a couple of years, a new online expenses system was put in place. This also was used to book travel and hotels, and we were told that under no circumstances could it be circumvented. The travel section was strange. The way it worked was, you choose the city you were traveling to, and it gave you the pre-approved hotel you had to choose. All very straightforward, until you consider how these hotels got on there. It wasn't through hundreds of corporate negotiations. It was when the first traveler using the system had to stay in that city, found a hotel that met their needs, that became the default hotel. I live in a small country, and the local company was based about 150 kilometers from the capital. The only people who had used the system to stay in my country were the senior vice presidents, who worked on the takeover, and when they returned to the capital to fly home, usually spent a few vacation days there. I was asked to go on a training course run by a company in the capital, and being a lowly prole, would have expected a travel lodge or similar. But the only choice available to me was the 5-star Intercontinental Hotel, where breakfast starts at €50 and the rooms are eye-watering. I checked with the scheme admin and she laughed as she read me the rules. Under no circumstances could the system be circumvented. The course was over 2 weeks and at month end my expenses were submitted. Nearly $6,000 in hotel bills, plus food and mileage. My boss, in a different country, was almost in tears when he called me about this because he knew this compliance to the rules meant he'd have to explain this to his boss. Oddly enough, some other hotels were added soon after. Thanks for watching the video. If you had fun watching the video, please subscribe to the channel for more content. And please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.